This is my Kelly Clarkson moment, so I'm 100% just taking it. I got cue cards, I brought them myself. I'm really excited to be here today. Erica, thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction. I'm gonna definitely touch on many of the things that you said today. But like Erica said, she has attended some of my DIY classes, and our motto there is always, you do you, boo. So thank you for bringing me today and trusting me to have this talk. I'm so excited to share. I'm gonna get out some quick acknowledgements really quickly, but I wanna thank my amazing team and creative team. They do all of this, and I get up here and talk about it, and it's wonderful, and obviously lots of talent happening within our company. So today, I'm gonna share the story of how I have blossomed over the past 8 years into this beautiful little company that I've built. I'm gonna tell you how it all grew, how it started, how it broke lots and lots of times. There will be lots of challenges and our roots in this story. A little more context on me, I have worked with a lot of big name clients. When people introduce me and say those things or I have to read them, I just feel very busy, but very humbled to work with all of those wonderful roster of people. I did a lot of agency work over the past 20 years. I had my own event agency here in Phoenix. Does anybody remember Sway Events at all? Okay. It's been a minute. But overall, I have been in the event landscape for about 27 years now. So I decided finally to, instead of doing everything, I was traveling a lot with agency work, and I just decided to boil it down to one creative element that I could focus on, which was flowers. So today, after all of that, creativity has sort of always been my through line. I didn't know that I would end up being the CEO of a floral company, but here I am, and I'm excited to share how that all went down. So I will start by saying I didn't have flowers at my own wedding, which is crazy because now flowers are literally my whole life. But we'll get back to that. So when I first started this business, I thought I knew exactly what I was planting. I had a solid idea. I came with a ton of contacts. I came with a lot of know-how, just in operation. So I was like, I can take this and project it on the flower medium and it'll be great. I was really rooted in events, and so I was like, this is a no-brainer. This is gonna be awesome. Until the roots started to grow a very different way, because our dear friend, COVID, came to play. So overnight, all of the events disappeared, and I was just kind of looking at this thing thinking, did I just plant this seed that's never even going to sprout? Do I just move on and start over? What do I do? So I had an idea, not a big polished idea, but a very scrappy idea. It was also during COVID and I was a little bored. So I decided to deliver what we called emotional support plants. Robin, I think you actually got one during that time. So she got two. So we had this super scrappy idea to deliver emotional support plants. It just felt right for the time. We delivered these plants, $20 a pop. You could pick your pot, and then they had these little motivational cards on them. So this is also when I discovered Canva. So I was on a roll, honey. It was my Hallmark era for sure. I was just like pumping out the cards, you grow girl, stay rooted, you got this. So we were delivering them all over the valley, contactlessly. Do you remember that word, contactlessly? Buzzword. So we delivered them all over the valley, and what came out of it was really special. It just felt so right for the time. People sent us the nicest, most sentimental messages. People were like, "Thank you for finding a way to connect me with my family when I was unable to be there physically myself." So we obviously didn't make any money on this operation for $20 plants, and also something that I learned early on is maybe I should have narrowed my delivery zone just a bit, because for months, for weeks at least, we did this for like 3-4 weeks, I think. Just to get them all out. We had over 300 orders. And so at the time it was me and one other person, just literally driving all of these plants all around town. But it felt really good, and so it felt right. So what I realized is this: sometimes blossoming boldly doesn't start with a big elaborate plan. or an epic moment. Sometimes it's just about a teeny tiny sprout. And then sometimes, this has been such a fun activity for me to put together. I was talking with Erica a little in the lobby about just my process for being able to tell you this story. But sometimes I know that as a creative, sometimes your soil can feel really soggy and damp and you're kind of drowning in it. Sometimes you have so much creative energy that you just suck all the moisture out of the soil and you have dry soil. So there's all of these different things that we go through to maintain our soil. I don't know, sometimes you might even have gnats, I don't know, but we have to keep moving on. So all of these temporary conditions, it doesn't mean it's the end of the soil, it just means we have to allow the soil to do its work, to revitalize and to return us back to our most reliable state. Okay, so remember how I told you, I'm gonna grab some water as I do this. Remember how I told you I didn't have flowers at my wedding? So we skipped flowers altogether for lots of different reasons. It just overall wasn't a positive experience. We didn't quite love the options, just like how it was presented to us. It just kind of slipped down on our priority list. We're like, no, we'll just skip the flowers. So fast forward to about 6 years after, my timeline might be a little off, but about 6 years after my wedding. This is towards the end of COVID. At this point, we had built a core little audience with those emotional support plans. We definitely harvested that data, stayed in touch, and that's essentially what helped us to build what would become a base that we could do retail, since we couldn't do events anymore. So we camped out in our wholesaler's back room. Did anybody ever come to that back room studio? A few of you. It was, thank you for finding it, because it was, we tried to market it as a speakeasy at some point because it was literally just down a hallway, in a room, no AC, no heat, I mean, crazy. So there was a venue downtown, right around the corner, that was just kind of shopping florist. I don't know quite how we came up, because we were new at the time, so they came to me, gave us the opportunity to pitch for the venue. So we did pitch for the venue. They decided that we would start working together. We worked together, I would say, 3-4 months, and then over the course of a year, what turned out to be one venue turned into 6 venues. So we started servicing all of those venues, and that was truly a way for us to scale and to start to really set ourselves up for success for how we wanted to grow. P.S. The original venue that reached out to me was my wedding venue, all those years later. So I still tell clients whenever I do those consultations or a part of the conversation, I'm like, look, I got you. I was married here, so. But here's what it taught me. Sometimes blossoming boldly isn't about pushing harder or chasing after opportunities. Sometimes it's about being planted in the right place, and even when it looks unlikely, to still lean into the sunlight and let the right opportunities find you. I didn't have flowers at my own wedding, but now I have them by the thousands. Okay, and then there are the projects that you just never see coming. So around this time, I had a long-time creative colleague that I had worked with in many capacities. She ended up going on to be the director of brand marketing for a women's lingerie company. It was eventually purchased by a conglomerate. So anyhow, I got this call. It was, of course, in the dead of summer, because that's when it always happens. And we were asked to put together a Midsummer Night's Dream forest in a studio inside in the middle of summer for women to model lingerie for Playboy. Not exactly on my personal bingo card, but we sure as hell got it done. And it was just a really fun, I have so many of these stories, stick around after. So the best part is that, side note, it was plants and indoors, so we actually have a plant, a really tall tree, I guess, at our house that my husband keeps alive. So thank you for keeping Playboy as part of our family, babe. I really appreciate it. Okay, so here's the thing. Blossoms don't always show up where you expect them. Sometimes they pop up in places that feel wild or even a little bit out of place, and yet they still carry beauty, creativity, and impact. So this project taught me this. If you're willing to follow your creativity into unusual places, it will really surprise you what can bloom. So blooming isn't all about beauty. Something that I have learned in this industry, which is such a blonde moment, but flowers don't just show up pretty like that. You have to process them, you have to do all of these things to really get them to their best state. So when people hear now, we've been in business for 7 years, that we do, as a relatively small team, over 850 events a year. Aside from our retail business, some people might think that that's glamorous doing all of these events, and I know that you've seen the memes of the, walking in with the champagne and the flower. It's definitely not that. We're all washing buckets. If y'all see me loading in this morning, I did not look like this. So in our early days, we ran out of cooler space all the time. Our coolers broke. At one point we had a cooler, we had to expand it. We were working literally out of no joke, 4 different locations, coolers. At one point we parked U-Hauls in the back of people's yards that and try to keep our flowers cold overnight. So we have definitely been through it. Transportation, we didn't have vehicles. We begged, we borrowed, we used our wholesalers' trucks, we used our personal vehicles. I think I really tested the limits of how many U-Hauls you can take out under one name. I'm happy to not be doing that anymore. So next, there was the Super Bowl. So I'm not a Super Bowl guy, but I was excited just to, I love tentpole events, I love the big production, so I was just I'm excited to see what all of these vendors do with this opportunity. I'm stoked. So then I had heard about a small business group that they were putting together for the Super Bowl. Did anybody work with that group? Okay, so I heard about it. I attended a meeting with a friend, and I was like, hey, I'll hear what they have to say. So I decided to throw my hat in the ring for anything. I thought maybe we'll get, something, a fun little whatnot. So we ended up landing 17 events. Many of them were the official sanctioned events of the Super Bowl. So we worked with our largest production partner, and we did flowers literally everywhere. We did the VIP house downtown at Champaign Lanes for an entire week. We did the Super Bowl VIP experience at the park. We did the florals inside and outside of the stadium, all the VIP areas. We did an event at the farm that was their welcome event. I remember literally our team member Katie, we always joke about it, she was literally designing in a U-Haul as it was moving through the property. Because has anybody been to the farm? It's giant, and we had 600 pieces to set. So Super Bowl was absolutely crazy. At this time, we were still working out of our wholesaler's back room, which was just a maze of ways. By that time, we had broken into this other space, and they had been such great partners. We got flowers, Juliana, if you're watching, I love you. We just kind of took over the warehouse for a minute to make all of this happen. I remember also, I was literally hiring people, florists that were coming in to buy flowers that day. And I was like, hey, how much time do you have? Can you, literally putting people to work. Y'all know Dara. So the way that I met Dara is I met Dara outside of We Got Flowers, sitting on my phone, and asked her if she could come help me set up at the park. And that's how we met. And now she's actually our rep. But anyhow, it was crazy. But we did it. Every single event got done. And then, small side note, this was also Valentine's Day weekend, and we're also a retail florist. So it was crazy, but I'll always think about it fondly. So the Super Bowl taught me this. Sometimes blossoming boldly means stepping into opportunities that feel way too big, way too fast, and trusting that you'll find a way to bloom in the middle of the madness. And here's the thing about blossoming. It doesn't always happen where you expect it. So if you've ever been out and about, walking in the street or somewhere, and you see something beautiful growing out of the cracks, and you just have to stop and take a photo of it, or you just take a minute to think how the hell is this thing even surviving here, or where did this come from? Those are the moments that feel most beautiful to me. Blooms that show up in cracks in the sidewalk, in the middle of the asphalt, in places you'd never think could thrive. And that's really what it's felt like for me to blossom. Not perfect and not polished, but continuing to show up and to push through and to be alive. So, we're gonna get deep here, all right? So here's my question for you. This was really interesting for me to think about, but what messy part of your life right now and all of your tangled roots might be part of your future blossom? So here's the thing about blossoming boldly as well. It isn't just about adding more vans, more people, more flowers. It's also about letting go. Because if you truly want a plant to thrive, I think you know what I'm gonna say here, right? Okay. You have to prune that plant. And sometimes that can be really difficult, but pruning for me is a very important part of the blossom experience. If you ever pruned a plant and you kind of step back and you look at it and you're like, she looks a little funky, like maybe I took off a little bit too much, or it's lopsided. So I think what we should really do is step back and look at that as making space for what is going to bloom next. I've had to prune a lot of things out of my life, personally and professionally with relationships, and that's okay. The soil just wasn't right for both of us, and that person will find another garden, and I want to curate my garden, and so I want to keep the blooms close to me that matter. I've also had the bloom perfectionism. Erica brought that up in the beginning, and I have a very highlighted note here, that perfectionism is something that will kill creativity so very quickly. So that's something that I've had to prune from my garden. I also have had to let go of the idea of being part of everything, of touching everything, which my team is here probably rolling their eyes right now, but that is something else. So maybe blossoming boldly isn't about what else you can put onto your plate or another project. Maybe it's about asking, what do I need to trim back? What do I need to release so that my blossoms have room to grow? All right. How's it going? You still with me? All right, when I started Flowers, I didn't know the industry. I didn't really, like I said, I knew logistics, I knew creative, I knew how to walk people through an experience. And so why I think we're a different brand of flower shop is that really is my root system. It's all about an experience. I mean, when we show up, we show up. And so, you know, even, I knew all that, but I didn't know anything about flowers. I didn't also know that Mother Nature would be one of my colleagues that I would be working with every day. And let me tell you, sometimes she's a bitch. I didn't know how to process flowers. I didn't know the intricacies of working with perishable product, but we figured it all out. What I did know was, like I said, moving people through that experience. And then a really, really wild opportunity showed up. So we got a call from State Farm Stadium to produce florals for an artist. This now, I'm fortunate to say, happens for us a lot, and what we do is we just like Google and we figure it out. Even when they don't tell us, we know who it is. So we tried to figure this one out. We couldn't quite figure it out. The dates didn't really align. So we go into this deal, you know, there's all the things to sign and whatnot. And later on, we learned that it was Taylor Swift. So, a couple people have. So her team wanted florals for multiple VIP spaces. They wanted them for dressing rooms, and then they wanted this really cool moment in the tunnel, sort of like one of the last moments before she comes on stage. So we were super excited to learn it was Taylor. There were lots of Swifties. I am a Swiftie. So we got really excited. So we put together this beautiful design. It was these large, oversized white roses. White roses and white Berbera daisies are Taylor's favorite. So we put together this huge, really cool design. We got to go down to the stadium and just be part of the energy of that whole event. Security was really tight. We weren't able to take photos. Like, they literally watched us put in every stem as we stood outside the dressing rooms. And it was just a really cool experience. We went back throughout the week to kind of maintenance everything. And then we ended up having a lot of people on the tour reach out to us for all of the occasions that they were celebrating that week, because obviously Taylor's rolling pretty deep with people. So we were like, birthdays, anniversaries. We were just like at the stadium all week delivering flowers for Taylor's people. So something that was just like an aha moment is that 6 years prior to that is when to the day, So I remember this because the morning I had resigned from my agency job for lots of reasons, and I remember that night we went to the Reputation tour. And so I'm sure it's somewhere, there's a video of me like teary-eyed in a U-Haul and whatnot. But 6 years later, it was just such a different place. I had come to being so unhappy in that work, to now I was actually producing florals for Taylor Swift. It was just a crazy, crazy moment. So if you want to see me crying somewhere, go deep on social, you'll find it. Okay. This is something different for me, but I'd like to close with a moment of reflection. This whole talk has really reminded me of my journey and my gratefulness, and like I was telling Erica outside, just kind of putting it into writing. I'm not really like rehearse a speech over and over type of guy, I'm just like more bullet points. So last night was the first time I had a chance to just kind of roll through it all. And sometimes saying it out loud and putting it into words is so meaningful. And so I would encourage you to do that. I'm not a journaler, I don't meditate or any of that. So this has felt like that for me. So thank you for sharing. But if you are comfortable, close your eyes. If not, just listen along. Picture your favorite flower. If you don't have a favorite, maybe imagine a color that reminds you of one. Maybe it's a bloom from your childhood, a flower from your grandmother's garden, or a wild plant you stumbled across on vacation because it was so stunning and you just had to stop and take a picture. Now think a little deeper, past the petals, past the stems, down into the soil. Beneath every flower is a hidden world that we don't know about. Tangled roots, unseen struggles, and layers of life feeding into that one temporary moment of beauty. Because blooms aren't meant to last forever, but the act of blossoming again and again can be. Sometimes blossoming boldly starts small. Sometimes it means being planted in the right place. Sometimes it's wildly unexpected, and sometimes it requires pruning. And sometimes it means trusting creativity over tradition. So where in your life are you being called to blossom boldly? What seed is waiting for you to trust it enough to sprout? What needs pruning in your garden so you can make space for more blooms? You guys can open your eyes. Thank you. Now, if flowers can bloom here in Arizona, Melissa can tell you all about it, then so can you. Thank you guys for having me and letting me chat about how I blossomed in my journey. This was really special for me. My hope is that this story leaves you with some sort of inspiration so that you can go out, be part of other people's garden, blossom boldly. And before I go, we're growing, so we're hiring. If anybody wants a job, we do have a couple, for real though, we have a couple roles. We're looking for designers, and then we're also looking for possibly somebody who can lead some consultations and do a certain amount of sales work. So if you know any of those people, we are a growing company, so let's chat. But thank you guys so much, and go out there and blossom boldly.